Yo, 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 what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? Happy hump day. Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Welcome to another edition of Assembly of Excellence. I am your host for this evening, Deep Entropy, Last of a Writer's Creed. Today we come together one more time to have the conversations that the rest of the world refuses to. And we got some things to talk about. Shout out to my writers, my content creators, my poets, my poetess, my painters, singers. You are a blessing in disguise. Shout out to everybody that's watching all across social media, from Instagram all the way to Facebook. We have a special guest making her debut to the panel. It is an honor or a privilege. I'm looking forward to the many discussions that we will have in the future. If you don't know who this soul is, get familiar. Please make sure by the end of this conversation that you go check her out. Go see what she has to offer, what she is putting out on display for the world to see. I like to give you a warm welcome to Miss Christie. Make sure on the way in you show your love and support.
Hello. Thank you for the great intro. I appreciate that.
Hey, how are you?
Oh man, feeling good. It's that
It's
Boss Up
all
Blue
love over
Wednesday.
here. That's all you're going to receive when you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
all
I mean, I'm
love over
looking forward, and I hope that the people will do the same as to subscribe and to share and like all your content because I did get a chance to do my homework. I like to do a little bit of homework before I go on and do something of this nature. So I really enjoyed a lot of the different videos that you have and the different topics, and it's very much soul replenishing to know that we can connect with real people, not superpowers and superheroes, but real people who are doing things to make that change.
Not all heroes wear capes, right?
They sure don't. They look as ragged as they come, but you know what? They're the ones that put in the work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People like you and Greg Kelly and Miss TG73 salutes. I appreciate the love. The unspoken, the unsung hero, the one who doesn't ask for recognition or acknowledgement for the contributions that they bring to the community, to their families. We salute and give you your flowers today. Thank you so much for everything that you do that no one knows about.
Amen.
Miss Christie,
Yes, sir.
introduce yourself real quick to the world for those who don't know who you are.
Okay. Basically, my life has done a lot of changes throughout, and as I expressed to so many people, I wore a lot of different hats. So it became from losing my parents to having children and a daughter with autism and knowing how to have to direct and connect into that world, of not only politicians, but, different authority figures that comes into play. So I learned a whole lot about just tapping into all the bad situations that I've had to go through and utilize the spirit of something that has happened bad and create it good. So that's why I'm just I'm a poetess. I am a writer. I've been writing since I was 6 years old, and I play music, and everything has its place. And I found that to be my safe haven. As I was going through a lot and not understanding the power of the words that I was saying until my teachers were taking note. So I also decided for myself that it was important to understand that my religion is Christianity, but I was blocking a lot of people off who may be from different other religions and have something wise to say. So that's why I said that, this knowledge, we can cross over bridges and learn from folks that are doing well and doing good, and being able to, step out into that spirituality to where we can all come together and understand certain things, because we are humans. We're going to mess up. However, I believe that, as history shows, that when you put your mind to something, when you also see the leader in yourself, I don't care if it's just in your neighborhood, you know what I mean, to honor that and go forth, versus looking for somebody else. So that's what I like to, talk to people about and understand and get it grounding, because our energy is sapped and we're wondering why, what's going on, So I put out a spoken word album in 2022 with Wicked Low and Too Tempted. And it was a spoken word album that I really got to enjoy because it's called Loving Thy Temple. And I did a book behind that because, when you start to looking about really self-care, that's kind of a buzzword at times, it's, self-care and, take care. But what does it truly mean in a world where, you have a lot of things going on? And like my world, I have to cut it short, but I really want people to understand that, as much as we can go through, if we stick with it, stick around the good people, even if it's on social media, even if it's not in your group or whatever, keep around that and stay strong. When you're weak, say you're weak and reach out to the right people. You know what I mean? Because in the beginning of the day, when I did my advocacy and all the stuff that I had to do, to taking care of people with cancer that died, and my sister just recently passed away, and I was right there for it. When you go through a lot of trauma, you have to learn that you have taken away some pieces of yourself, and how do you put those pieces back in to make yourself a whole person? So that's what I'm about, is to help as many people as I can in the world of disabilities, in the world of, so many different types of trauma. And there's a way out, there is a way out. And I'm one of those living people that shouldn't have been here today because suicide came across me. You know what I mean? So I have been through it, and I'm like, I'm here to tell everybody that, what, hold on. Hold on.
Excellent rollout.
Thank
Excellent rollout. And I say that because, guys, these are human beings. We are human beings when we get up here. We are not robots. We are not reading from teleprompters. This is our real life.
Mhm.
People experience and go through. No one is perfect.
Mhm.
But in order for us to connect truly to each other, we really have to be transparent.
Mhm.
And hopefully, like I said, by the end of this, you guys will check her out and go see what she got going on. This is just this isn't even scratching beneath the surface. I have so many more questions for her, but we're going to save that for another time because we got something that we got to unpack here. And we kind of got into it a little bit before the stream, but I was like, man, I want to save that for now because I don't want to, give everything away beforehand. I want You know what I'm saying? So, um, y'all see the title. Isolation is of the enemy. And everybody has a different opinion on what that is.
Yeah.
There's is there good to it? Is there negative to it? But I want to know from you and from the people that are watching, how do you feel about isolation in general? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Um, what are we really doing with this? How do we really feel about separating ourselves from humanity, from work, from the world, from ideas, from other perceptions and other opportunities that's presented to us because we've decided to remove ourselves from everything and everyone. How do you feel about being isolated?
Well, in several ways of going about it, I'm gonna go with my gut. When isolation happens, it's not a bad thing, but I think it's a different word. When you're saying isolation, to me, it's saying that, you know what, not due to anything of your control, you are being isolated out. Whether it be a group of people, that, social and financial and all these different things, skin colors, all this stuff, all the things that we tend to really get into. Isolation can be very much a tricky word. I think it's good to be alone at times, of course. You got to think, you got to be able to cut the noise out, turn off everything and just get into the zone. So with isolation for me, I look at it as that it's not productive when you don't have anybody to talk to that really can get you. And with social media, we got to remember there's a lot of people that still aren't on here. So they're in isolation from having that communication, as we were talking about before. So, when we have isolation, there's no communication that's really going on. That's happening between, us as fellow human beings. And so, I think that whether you're spiritual or you're not, what I mean, or whatever you believe in, I truly and honestly say that when we can be able to get out of so many categories and get into the human being moment, isolation won't be something that people are feeling and hurting from. You see so many people who, with social media, and we got so many platforms, how many people are ready to commit suicide? How many people are ready to, get out of this world because it could be demonic forces, it could be things from generational curses, it could be, something that we don't know about because we weren't educated, that we what we need. So, I like to hear your views on it because, again, I can go into different categories and I don't want to, take away too much of the time away from, the topic of isolation. I just got a broader sense of, even those who, like I said, really are impacted about not having people that they can actually look at, see, touch, hug, you know what I mean, and be in their presence because everybody's not communicating. And so that's isolation for me.
Excellent observation. Um, I put a post out on Threads earlier, and my question, and I'll pose this question to the viewers too. If a person is living 100, 200, 300 miles away from you, but they are someone that has impacted your life in a very special and unique way, more than the people that are 10, 15 feet away from you.
Hmm.
Does that make you you lonely? Are you considered alone? Does that in turn say you don't have a friend or you don't have somebody because the person isn't physically present in your life? Does that still mean that you don't have anybody? And the reason I think was because the power of the tongue is real. When you speak certain things into existence, you inadvertently create your own demise.
Mm-hmm.
From my point of view, you can be a million miles away from somebody and still have everything that you need. You can be present with your entire family right there, cook out and everything, still feel like you're alone. I think perception really dictates that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why this ties into what I'm about to say is because you can look at isolation as a way to preserve and protect your spiritual growth. Because, yes, there are a lot of intangibles that can't be spoken for, that you can't see with your eyes. There are demonic spirits that are used through the vessels of people that you are close to, that if those people are allowed to be within your space, they can alter your physiology. They can change and make you rethink how you operate. They can change your attitude, your demeanor, how you talk, how you walk. But you wouldn't really understand how severe it's happening until the results have already come in. So, in some senses, isolation is important. It's key to keeping some type of mental stability and some type of sanity. You have to have boundaries. You
Mm-hmm.
have to know who to keep around you and what not to keep around you, and what to tolerate and what not to tolerate. Yes, to a degree, and I wouldn't even say isolation is the word for it. When I think of isolation is to protect and preserve, but then I look on another side, from a spiritual side, because I've experienced it in some cases. I'm not saying in all of them. When I think about it, the devil has one mission and one job. I will always bring Satan and God into every single conversation that I have up here. So if you don't like it and you're not comfortable with it, maybe there's a reason behind it. I'm not trying to offend nobody, but this is just how I feel about it. The devil has one mission. He doesn't like you. He doesn't love you. He has no remorse for you or your loved ones. His goal and objective is to take as many people to hell with him as possible. Why is this something that we need to acknowledge? Well, if you look at all of your exes, all of your coworkers, your attitude, your anger, he uses your weaknesses to drain you like a
Mm-hmm.
vampire that goes after blood. He goes after your spirit. Because if your spirit is weak, your flesh is more prone and subjected to the advances of destruction. So what happens is he will use things that he knows about you to entice you. And once he's enticed you, it will cause a spirit of error to come into your body. You will start to separate yourself from people without even realizing it. You'll
Mm-hmm.
start looking at folks like they're the enemy, like they're the problem. You can't trust anyone anymore. You can't trust yourself because you keep allowing certain things to damage you. Now everybody that's within a radius is a they have the probability of causing you hurt in some type of way. So what happens? You start to remove yourself, and once you start removing yourself, you start to get in this spot where you're comfortable, and you're comfortable because you feel safe, and you feel safe because you feel like nothing can harm you or damage you. But even in that solitary confinement, the thoughts are still weighing on you, still eating at you, to the point that where you don't even recognize yourself anymore, or you start to lose yourself, or you feel like you got all the answers, you got everything figured out, you've created this bubble and this world that can protect you from all hurt, harm, and danger. And it's a falsehood, it's just a bunch of lies. The reality is you're really doing more damage to yourself than you realize you are. But that's just a little bit of how I feel about that. I'll turn it back over to you if you want to add on.
Yes, that's why it was important for me to learn how to break it down to people to understand those that, like I said, are spiritual beings, those that are seeking out, the Most High. Uh, you know, we know, like I said, growing up, Christian and everything, understanding the word and also being able to understand what to do in the physical world, what we're going to come up against, all those things. So when people sit up there and they don't want to hear necessarily, God or the devil, you can still put it into terms in which they can understand and relate to, by going in and being able to show the examples of what's going on, what's happening, and if you're referencing it to the Bible or to any, whether it be Judaism or Muslim, you're going to have the same kind of understanding that this world, there are things that are demonic that are just going to be around. And we have to be able to understand that every day without being paranoid, keeping our guard up, keeping ourselves in line, in tuned with our, spiritual self within our physical self, because when one thing breaks, the others start crumbling at the same time. And I understand it personally in my life because I couldn't understand why I was going through so much. Why did my daughter have to go through so much? And me put my life on a back burner, just because of the mere fact that there are things out there that people are just doing that were mean, and so that kind of isolation made me actually come more closer to God, maybe to understand more about, not just with Jesus, but also with other, like I said, spiritual people, and what was the main goal for them? You know what I mean? What was the end result? And that is to reach people, to be able to say, this is what's happening, and okay, you don't have to believe in a God, that is your choice, but look at what's happening here. How can you explain this? How can you explain all of this stuff without not seeing that there's something higher? So I just think that it's important for people to be able to communicate that with each other and be respected, as I have been able to do with other people that I met across the world in different religions. But, it was neat to see that the beginning, middle, and the end of the day, how our spirituality played into us tying together internationally. And people respecting, me, and, whenever it's like Christmas or whatever, and they're saying, happy, or Merry Christmas, to all my Christian friends, they may not be, but they're respecting the fact that that's who you are. And so I think that as we learn to grow into being comfortable without having to say, okay, it's cancel culture because you said God, it's cancel culture because you said the devil, no, it's real. We have heaven and hell on this earth. So how could it not be real that something goes on, that your spirit, once you leave this earthly place, where is it going? What's happening with it? And so I think it's imperative for me to have people to understand that, learn and to understand, so that way there can be more respect on the fact that we can have these topics and we can look at them from different lenses. And like I said, growing up the way that I did, and then understanding that, it was people that was using the word against me. It wasn't me, it was the mere fact that and they could see something in me, that would make them, upset or whatever. We go through that with people, and we're like, wait a minute, why are you being mean? Or why are you hate, why wouldn't you want to partner up? Or why wouldn't you want to do this, that, and the third? But we have to take more of a spiritual look at it. And like I said, remove all the devices and all that and get into that meditation, get into that prayer, get into the word and being able to understand what it is. There's some things that we're missing because people are teaching it in a different way, in a different manner, that makes people not even want to, be within the Christian realm or be dealing with people who are Christians, because they look at them as more so of a bullying than it is of those that you come across that God has them, so the isolation there is that we have to not be so much on more of a condemning, but let's talk real about it, and say, let's respect each other. It's all about the human being. I mean, it's just real simple. Real simple. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I've had people who wanted to, understand certain scriptures, and I wanted, it's like, that's how you make things grow. And that's when you can start seeing who's enemy, in my camp, you know what I mean? I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, I gotta get rid of this person, and this person, because like you said, somebody that's thousands of miles away gets me, and we're growing and we're building. And so we can see that spiritual realm where we can see the darkness and we can see the light, and so we are to be that shining city on the hill. And to be that doesn't mean it's perfect. What it is not to isolate others, because you want to be able to share with them without compromising who you are, and get that respect as you would for them. And so isolation, yeah, I would say that it's, like I said, it's good to be alone. Sometimes, sometimes you need that. Like some people you will see, they'll jump into different relationships and stuff like that, and they're trying to seek something physical. But when you have to stay by yourself and face yourself, it's a hard thing, but you got to let that spirituality ride, and override that, and know that you're going to get what you need, to get that support, to get through, to go to the other side.
Exactly. A lot to unpack there. I think you actually hit a lot of key points. One thing that you said that I thought was very important for people to keep in mind is the fact that none of us know everything and none of us know anything. Let me say that again. None of us know everything and none of us know anything. We can know certain things, but we can't know all.
Right.
Like to go into any situation assuming that you have all of the answers would be foolish. And it's easy to get dismayed when someone is preaching or trying to make the attempt to help you. because one bad experience can alter your belief system completely. And I think the problem is that, like you said, condemnation. Instead of actually condemning a person or looking at one situation like, all right, this pastor said one thing, but they did something completely different. Or I looked at you like you were a hero. Or I looked at you like you were the perfect example of what I was supposed to look for in a companion. You've completely shattered all of my hopes and dreams because of what you said and what you did. I'm going to throw the book at anyone who comes at me with anything that has anything to do with me developing a better relationship with myself. This it's not a it's the let me say this. You can't don't blame the word. I don't know what you look to or who you look to or who you believe in. Don't blame the word for being misused. The word is always the word. It's never changed. People manipulate it. People don't study it. Don't really understand the power behind it. Don't understand the significance. They don't understand the stories within it. So when they go out here in the world and they start trying to preach it, you get misled and you associate everybody that you come across as a culprit. Ricardo said something that I thought was important. Distinction is definitely a tool. You need to have discernment. You have to know how to discern. You have to be in a position to want to. You have to be vulnerable. You can't be prideful. You can't walk around talking about I don't need this, I don't need that, I don't need you, I don't need them, I don't need. I don't. You already blocked your blessing. You've already said, you know what, this is as far as I'm going. Because you just basically you just limit yourself to hearing or exploring or experiencing something that's greater than what you have been programmed to know. That's the part of isolation that I'm trying to target or get people to understand. I didn't have nothing to do with your broken heart. I am not the reason why you decided to go left when you should have went right. I'm not the reason why you smoked or picked up a bottle. I'm not the reason why you have an attitude problem. I'm not the reason why you don't know how to communicate. I'm not the reason why you're sassy and sarcastic and why you're an asshole and why you power trip and bully people and manipulate and lie and confuse and contort and twist words to benefit you. I'm not the reason for any of it. I didn't cheat on you. I didn't rob you of love and joy. I didn't put that pride in you. Where do you think all of that stuff comes from? See, that's what people don't really want to talk about. You want to point fingers at other people, how your life got to the way it is, but you don't look at yourself. You allowed the enemy to come in and do the damage. You were enticed. Something fascinated you. And I'm not going to put all the blame 100% on you because if you don't have distinction and discernment, if you don't have something that you believe in, if you don't have a source that you can go to, if you're just walking around lawless, clueless about what the truth is, you've put yourself in a susceptible position. And so when these things start to come to you, and you have a pattern of dating the same type of person, or you have a habit of encountering the same type of job or the same type of position, or you don't know how to get rid of that shitty attitude that you have, and you not you can treat one person right, but you treat the other person like crap.
Mm-hmm.
You idolize one person, but you treat the other person like they're a fan of you. You want to support this person, but you look at the other person like they don't have no value to anything that is saying out their mouth. Their last name means nothing in this world. You get beat down and beat down and beat down over love and over giving yourself to the person that you didn't identify with using discernment in the begin with. They wore you down. You broke away from them. Then you repeated the cycle and went back to another vessel that has the same spirit in them. They wear you down some more. You think that you're getting it together. Oh, I'm not going to repeat the same cycle again. You get good people in your life. They treat you the complete opposite of what you're used to. And you do them dirty because of what the spirit carried over from the negative individuals that you attached yourself with. You adopt their negative and demonic stuff, and you try to spread it to decent and good people. And then when they decide that they don't want to deal with it, you gaslight and you blame them for everything that's befalling you. But the whole time, the devil has been working on you. He's been wearing you down. He's been lying to you, dressing nice, fancy suits, nice dresses, nice blouses,
Mm-hmm.
long, luscious hair, soft, soft voice, baritone, talk like Barry White, 6'6", 200 plus pounds, makes all of this money a year, 100 to 200K a year. You
Mm-hmm.
blinded by the beauty and the wealth and the fame. The whole time the devil is kicking your ass and you don't even realize it. He's
Mm-hmm.
isolating you, slowly but surely isolating you. Because what he wants you to look at is, I'm God. I will give you the love of your life. I will give you the finances. I will give you the joys. I will give you the pleasure. I will rape you. I will molest you. I will cause you to change your idea of genders. I will give you the world. I will give you everything that you desire. I will make you feel like God is the reason why everything is happening to you. He does not give two rats asses about you, but he will play like he is the creator, and you'll be so confused and so enticed by the things that he's presenting to you. Put it this way: there's two versions of her right now standing in front of you. The exact same woman. Both of them have the same dialogue, the same conversations. They carry themselves the same exact way. You don't know the difference between them, right? How do you pick? Well, you decide on which one is enticing you the most. Which one is going to allow you to be the sluttiest person that you can be?
Mm-hmm.
Which one is not going to hold you accountable? Which one is going to lie to you about what you're doing wrong? Whichever one is going to allow you to be a piece of shit, that's the one you're going to gravitate to. But they're the same person, and they word their stuff the same way. That's exactly how Satan worked. And then before you know it, you you sitting here like, I don't know how this happened, why this, what was me? He's wearing you down. I I was about to go into a whole rant. I'm gonna turn it back over to you. Let me see. Hold on, let me read the comments real quick. If you want to
Okay.
respond to the comments, you can do so. Um, Terry said, thinking we're removing ourselves from a bad situation, not knowing we just stepped into a worse situation. Exactly. Mad
Yeah.
Mystic said, there's need. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And I was going to say, Mad Mystic said, there's need for solitude if used as a tool to heal where there's no one else to blame. It'll be misused by those who can't face the inner self.
Yeah, I mean, with both of them, they're correct because it is about, being able to know what to do and how to feel it and know when it's in you. You know what I mean? It's that what we used to call gut instinct. You know what I mean? When something was wrong, you know what I mean? Something was off and there was those red flags about that person, but like you said, something might have been more enticing, so um we don't have to be in isolation, but what we need to do is practice, put in a practice on a daily basis that it doesn't matter what's going on, what's happening, you're going to shut it down and really, like I said, get into the meditation, get into understanding what the word really truly means. And those that have not been able to even expand on some of the things that are just general in there, and not explain to why, it's in there. So, for me, it's all about the communication and not being misled, because you do it once, okay, you don't know something or whatever's going on. Sometimes it could be certain situations that people are placed in where, yes, and you do gravitate towards their spirit. And when they have a bad spirit, absolutely. I've been in a relationship like that where I was like, oh shoot, I better get away because I can see myself acting stupid and it's not me. So I took time out to decide not to date for a while until everything that God told me he needed to unfold in me, he did, and so I was okay with that because I knew I had to put in the work and I had to face myself. And just when you're sitting up there and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm already thinking I'm a mess and I got to go through more stuff, like what? But it's worth it when you can see the other side, and so I just agree with everybody, where we got to use these words and know how to put them into a place where it's utilized in the right way, and get into the self-care. And self-care means to face truth. And when we face those truths, like I said, it's scary as I don't know what. It's something that, you just don't want to do. I wish I didn't have to do it. You know what I mean? But an easy road is not the best road because all you're doing is becoming a sheep. And you listen to anybody and get manipulated by it because you're on the surface. You're not being able to connect to your higher spirit, your most high, because you got that blockage in your way. And that's why I looked at energy, and I really talk about energy because, you can tell within a certain amount of time, if you're going to be friends with people, you know what I mean? And so, like I said, a lot of people use their circumstances, well, I didn't have this, or this is what was going on in my life, so I just needed somebody to be there, and you realize that you really didn't need that person because you just blocked the blessing of the person that was going to come after that person. So taking that time out and just really vibrating and be present in what's happening. And it's okay. You're going to break down. You might scream, cry, kick, whatever, but go through it and have the right kind of people around you to help you to break through and be able to build yourself as a brick house and not a sand one.
That's a whole fact, a whole entire fact. A lot of this really comes down to how much you desire to be better than what you were.
Mhm.
How far are you willing to go to come out of that dark place?
Mhm.
How far are you willing to go to say, look, man, I'm just meek. I'm nobody special. I'm just a grain of sand on the beach. Your pride is going to be your ultimate downfall. All of ours. I ain't no gangster. I ain't trying to be street. I ain't no politician.
Mhm.
I'm not going out here trying to poison nobody. I'm not trying to. I am a pedestrian. I am a regular 9 to 5er with bills, losses, and the occasional witty response. Sometimes my humor, sometimes my humor is kind of hit and miss. But I ain't nobody special unless God unless God decides to make me somebody. I ain't nobody. You gotta have that type of attitude. God is the one who decides what you're going to be. And I think a lot of times we get in this space where we feel like we got complete control over the universe. Like you can just stretch your hand out and reshape every single atom in the star. There's only one person that can do anything remotely close, and he can't even do it. But it's fun. It's fun looking at it. Ricardo said, "Sometimes isolation does help distinguish your voice from the other voices influencing you." Absolutely correct, sir.
Mhm. Yep.
But
Because there's always.
what happens? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say yeah because we definitely know, and it's not talking about mental health issues. It's talking about we know when we hear the one side that's saying do this and the other side saying do that, and our mind becomes that battlefield. So yeah, I agree with what he was saying.
He also said there's a difference between being alone and experiencing loneliness. Salutes to DJ G1. There's absolutely a huge difference. And I guess it all really depends on you. I haven't had no one around me in years. When I go to work, I work by myself to the point where people think, something wrong with me, like I'm antisocial or I really just don't. But that's only because you don't know me or
Mhm.
you weren't really invested enough to get to know me. Because a lot of people who speak to me, they know different. And at this point, I really have nothing to prove to anyone. But to just put yourself in a place where can't nobody reach you and you're unobtainable, that's a dangerous spot. And I know because I've isolated my church brothers and sisters
Mhm.
where I wouldn't pick up the phone and talk to them. They had a word for me and things of that nature, and I'm ducking and avoiding the calls. I got. I'm not. I'm not feeling good. I'll call you back.
Mhm.
The whole time they have messages of healing, but I'm avoiding it. Why am I avoiding it? Because I'm under the influence. I've decided to lay in my sin and in my mess, in my arrogance and all that other stuff. Does that apply to everyone? No, but I think it is definitely a component. Absolutely.
Hmm. Yeah, there's an importance
If you
to, with folks to connect with being isolated to being just alone. And there's, like I said, a tremendous difference to me, because an isolation means that somebody is forcing you to feel so uncomfortable that you have put yourself into that deep dark place where you're not in touch with reality, you're not in touch with your spirituality. You know, and so yeah, it's just that simple. We're going to go through things, but being alone does not mean that you're lonely, because you're fulfilled within yourself to be okay and comfortable with being alone, and choosing that time to take out for yourself, and what's best for you right now. So, some people shouldn't read the book by its cover. When they do that, it's like, okay, everybody has to be so bubbly and all that, and everybody's not like that. You meet them where they're at, and being able to just strike up a conversation. It doesn't take anything to do, and so for people to get to know you, like you said, at work and stuff like that, or on this platform, anywhere else, it's like, yeah, you're going to be able to shine because you're able to get deeper, and then people are going to be like, oh shucks, I didn't know you were this cool, or whatever the case may be. And that's why we use timing, patience, to be able to go ahead and maneuver through all this stuff that is going on right now, and people and all the things that are trying to pull us away from what we know is to be true and real, and make us second guess things and all that. It is okay to quiet that by being alone. But if you're isolating yourself, then try to reach out to somebody, even if it's something, where it's got to be medical, or, some type of therapy or whatever. Don't be scared of that in order to get your life right and get it back, to where that you have the reins to the feeling good enough to saying, okay, again, putting in these practices, because too many people just don't want to be alone, yet they're miserable with other people.
you introduce or get introduced to certain lifestyles and certain individuals throughout your path, they alter your path, they alter your
Hmm.
course. You, you ever watch a movie and it has this play by play of different chapters of your life. So in scene one, you might be innocent and pure, full of joy, full of
Hmm.
life, and full of love. Your personality is bubbly and everything. And then by the end of the season one, there's a character that gets introduced to the show or the movie. That character has like they got dirty blonde hair. They're dressed like Marlon Brando back in the early '70s or something.
Hmm.
Got the all black leather on. The bad guy, the bad boy, the one who seemed like they got everything together. They free and they running wild. They ain't listening to nobody, following rules, and here you are still pure until you see that person. They fascinate you. Season one ends with you meeting that person. You go into season two,
Hmm.
you trying to act like you you holding your moral grounds and things of that nature, but that individual is showing you a life outside of that sanctuary sanctuary that you've been used to, and you love it. You're curious about it. It fascinates you. It makes you want to see what else is out there. So you decide to hop on that metaphorical motorcycle and ride off. That person started taking you to strip clubs and bars. You start seeing fights and different things and alcohol. Your purity starts getting tainted. The way you were looking at the world starts to change a little bit because now you are seeing a whole entirely different world than what you're used to. And you think that you're missing out on stuff. Oh, from season 2 all the way to season 5 and to season 7. By season 7, your hair is a mess. Look like you've been electrocuted. You got wrinkles. You got bags in your eyes.
Yeah, I'm just a hot mess.
20 packs and you can't sleep at night. You everywhere. Your parents don't even want to deal with you. They tired of you. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And as funny as it is, there's a lot of people that are strung out. There, people who are addicted, don't know how to get off of heroin, and they don't know how to stop putting needles in their veins. Some of them don't even have veins anymore in their arms and their legs. A lot of people have lost their lives, their sanity, man, because of how good the enemy is at making you think that what you're doing is fun.
Yeah.
At Blue Couch Therapy 88, shout out to you. Being alone is hard for a lot of people. I think I will conclude this entire conversation on your question. Well, you didn't ask a question, but I'm gonna turn it into a question. Anyone can answer. I'm just curious. Why do you think it is hard for people to be alone or be without a lot of people around them?
So you're asking me and the viewers?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think it's simple because if when you're alone, you got to face the things that you don't want to face. So it's called the running, the running game. You want to be around as many people as possible, like you said, blaming others of what's going on and what's happening and not taking control because it's painful when you look at yourself and the thing that you've done in your past. You don't have to be the worst person in the world, but we all know that there's layers of things that have stuck to us that have not been good, that once we reach that, part of looking at it and saying, well, dag, I need to face this. There's true meaning to that other than just saying it and moving forward. So people have to have somebody else that they can talk to. So that way they're not having to think about it. They're not having to face it because once they go home and they're alone, they get depressed and everything else, and they don't know certain steps to how to be able to maneuver out of that. So why do that? You know what I mean? So, and you just see it all the time with people, who just always surround themselves all the time, and even if they're not around people, then they're on social media all the time, and it's still that you have to have some kind of attention. You just can't sit up there and say, you know what, I this is my fault. And I don't have to beat myself up about it, but I just not going to go down that road again, and learn from it, and be humble about it. So that's why, in my perception, people don't want to because they just don't want to face it, and communication sucks, and so therefore, I'd rather have 10 people around me and I don't like them that much, you know what I mean? We're arguing, stuff like that. And, maybe, drinking or doing whatever, and everybody's just arguing and all that stuff. And you're like, why are you putting up with all that? Why didn't you just leave? Well, that's because that's your life. You're feeding into it because you really don't want to face the truth. And it's hard. And it is. It's hard to go through it. It's hard to get the right people to understand. However, give it a chance and allow it to be one of those things that you just start doing, and start saying, wait a minute, let me go ahead and get gutted out, like a house that, it's just inside. You got to gut that bad boy out, and you got to just go ahead and say, hey, I got to put a pause on these people, and get to myself. Once you start doing that, then you start to see the reason being why you're acting the way that you do. You're thinking in the way that you are, and once you break through that pain, whatever that is, that, is that stumbling block for you, being able to identify it, accept that it's right there, and then what you're going to do about it.
At Mad Mystics, I think there's a double-edged sword, right? Because the more connected I choose to get to God, the more people who refuse God refuse to be around me. The more odd and the more unique and different I present myself, the more I'm looked at as peculiar. And I think that is because when you decide or you choose to continue to walk in confusion, anything of light is going to bother the spirits that's in you. And I wholeheartedly mean this. If there's a demonic spirit inside of you and there's a person that you associate yourself with is moving in a harmonious way with their spirit man and God, your demonic spirits that are inside of you are going to remove you from those people. And the reason why they're going to remove you from them people is because they don't want you to be found. They don't want you to find yourself. They don't want you saved. If I love and care about you and God is being good to me and I'm trying to be good to you and you're attacking me and you're treating me like I'm the enemy,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm trying to take your favorite toys away from you,
Mm-hmm.
that's not you. That's the enemy. They're bothered by the anointing that's on people. And they don't want you around that because if you're around it, that anointing is going to rub off on you. Seed is going to be sown and you're going to start to wake up and come out of it. So I agree with you, bro. And then it's like, well, on the flip side, if you say the more alone you are, the greater the disconnect is, I can see that too, because when you separate yourself from God, you put yourself in a position to be attacked by any and everything. Because by default, you gave up your right to ask him to help you, unless you decide to humble yourself and ask for forgiveness and come back to him and stay under his covering. Once you leave his covering, it's fair game for whoever and whatever is out there. You want to do everything yourself. You want to be the man of the house. You want to be the woman of the house and be the man at the same time. You want to do all of this stuff on your own. You don't want to trust in God. You don't want to trust in the people that He's bringing to you. You want to rely on your own um, logic and understanding and reasoning. You have every right to, but you don't just understand that you're being used and you're being manipulated and you don't realize it. It's a curse and a blessing. This sermon is a curse and a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any final thoughts, anything that you want to say to the people on the subject or just in general, I would like to give you the opportunity to just talk with them before we head out. I know it's kind of winding down. I give you the floor.
Okay, well, thank you again, because this has been a very joyous conversation, being able to look at things from a different side of isolation. And one of the most important things I want to tell people is to not feel that when you have to take a step back, when you have to be alone in order to get your thoughts together and all that, that it's such a bad thing, because once you get connected to what things that aren't working in your life, the more that you will be able to spiritually be in tune and be in one and in harmony. So definitely please come and check this out. Please subscribe and to share and support for all that Mel is doing here. You know, it's great to be here, and also to just let you know that today is Boss Up Blue Wednesday, and I study colors, and blue is one of them things that is very much calming. So take your time. That's why I got my blue light on. You know, take the time to just relax, be okay with being alone, and trust in the process of your spirituality. Trust in the process that there are people that are going to be there for you in your journey. You know, trust in the process of knowing that you can get back to self again, and you're going to know that what you gave away, you snatch right on back. You do have that kind of power, and you do have the means to do that. So please come and check me out. I do a little bit of everything, you know, from poetry to writing, spoken word, doing music, and also, you know, making bracelets and stuff like that that bring in that energy, because I've studied crystals and gemstones and what it does to our energy, and to help people to be able to cut through a lot of that negativity, be able to have the spirit of discernment, you know. So I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much. Everybody have a good night, a good day, a good morning. Peace and blessings rain on you.
Hey. I want to say thank you again. I'm trying to get this thing. All right, there we go. I want to say thank you for coming out, for sharing your thoughts and your views. I knew once the call was answered that the right person was going to be here for this conversation. Nothing is by chance or by mistake.
Mm-hmm.
The enemy tried to stop this stream. The first stream went completely kablooey, tried to derail it, but not today. Not
That's
today,
right.
Satan.
That's right.
I thank you. I thank you for your wisdom, for your words, for your time, for your enthusiasm. Um, you are definitely a blessing to this topic. I'm looking forward to many more discussions as such. Shout out to Mad Mystics, Terry, Ricardo, Derek, Lou, the Poet God. My sister was in the building. Between Magic and Dreams. I appreciate y'all for pulling up, showing out. We will be back tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. I'm going on a run. This is my tribute to my grandmother, who I just actually left a viewing for today. And life is short. Life is precious. Life is unpredictable. Anything can happen at any given moment. And she would have wanted me to do what I'm doing right now. And so, in honor of her, that's exactly what I'm doing. So, for everyone who came out, I appreciate you. I thank you. And we spinning the block. Tomorrow's gonna be a pretty dope live as well. So if you're in the building, make sure you come out, hang with us. Yeah, that's pretty much that. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're not following, hit that thumbs up. Let the people know that we're here to stay, that we got some things to continue to cover, and our voices will be heard. This is for the people, by the people. Assembly of Excellence, saying good nights and peace.